We are not all filmographers, so please forgive any visual or written errors. We are a collection of indie individuals trying to bring the real story of the work compensation system to life.
The things we discuss in this documentary are personal events in a patient's experience, and we back up what we are saying with legal writings from lawyers, as well as quotes from famous publications like the New York Times. This video adheres to the law and recording. Your doctor's appointment is 100% legal in 40 U.S. states. Patients are allowed to record doctors' meetings just like doctors can record the entire meeting through dictation services.
This documentary is for educational purposes only and covered under fair use. The video should be allowed to remain on YouTube. There is no monetary value and it does not infringe any copyrights.
Only the patient is allowed to give consent to any part of their HIPPA, a record including videos and audio to be shared with the public. And this patient is giving permission to us to share the following details, audio, and recording.
The patient, however, does not give consent to Ascension, Sedgwick, or any doctor or organization to disclose any details relating to this case or any details about the individual patient. The patient is the only one who has a right to disclose only certain parts, and no other party has the right. Patient's HIPAA rights are not being waived to any party.
The family of this patient is supporting this documentary and want this information to get out there to help other families in the United States of America. The written words and commentary are the opinions, thoughts, and interpretations of the patient and patient's family, who are completely shocked by the treatment towards patients. Names and identifiers of the patient and patient's family have been removed to retain anonymity. Lawyers say to record all doctor meetings, and therefore it has been recorded.
It ensures that later on you have proof of doctor or insurance wrongdoing. Usually video is the main rights. Patients have to get the proper care and to prove their care was undermined.
There's no recordings of any sort because it's a mediation. It is informal. Mr. Morris, the claimant and attorney are by audio. You don't have to be by video. You can shut that off if you like. And also would like to add that if I accidentally get disconnected, hang on to the line and I will try to reconnect as soon as possible.
Right, and I'm definitely okay with getting it, reset once that other 45 gets filed for the October.
Right.
Well, I just want to get some basic information as far as treatment on either injury.
Oh yeah, happily. I can break that down for you.
Because the last medical document we have, and I don't think we've ever gotten an exchange from your office on either date of injury, is showing that last treated on 2/24/20 by Dr. Kowalt, and then he referred to a neurologist. And we have a patient case note showing that it did not appear for the follow-up of Dr. Kowalt and never responded for the neuro consult. So I guess the question is, has there been any medical treatment since February 24th and 20th?
Yes. So, early March, Dr. Kowalt had postponed the appointment. I don't have the exact dates. I believe it was possibly sometime in March when the recommendation for the neurologist was sent out. And Kowalt wanted to return after seeing the neurologist. And then from that point forward, the next one is Dr. Varga, May 26th. And then Dr. Varga this afternoon. And
That's what they're saying they did? George, did they call and ask to speak to Dr. Varga?
They said they left a voicemail.
I did see that. That's a lie.
I think it was last week they called saying you're scheduled for an appointment tomorrow with a primary care doctor. And I emailed the doctor and I asked, hey, is there something scheduled? Because I got a voicemail yesterday saying that there was an appointment today. And then she said, oh, well, the case manager called and scheduled something. But they didn't inform the patient and didn't inform me. They didn't inform the patient's lawyer. They just scheduled and wasted the doctor's time.
It's crazy. I myself deal with them and I make them read the notes that they have. And I call them out on the notes. Because they'll say, for example, I had one yesterday that said, well, we called your office and we were told that you didn't have enough clinicals for so-and-so and to cancel the prior auth. And I said, wait a minute. Then I need to know who is the one that told you, what the name is, the reference number was not documented. Okay, because I'm the only one that's working on this, so they will always put something. If they don't want to pay for something, they will always make something.
Why they've denied it. Did you get a chance to see that?
I talked to them. I told them the sleep study is absolutely
Right?
necessary for the diagnosis. Because we are going to have the sleep study done. That is, I don't care about that. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm a physician. That's an insurance company. Exactly. So we are going to get the sleep study.
Okay.
And the blood workup, that's another one.
Okay.
Just for basic stuff I need, okay? So let's get a sleep study. It's very important because I can't treat you until I get the diagnosis. You understand?
Right? Yes. Also, didn't mean to interrupt you with the physical therapy again. I don't know what's happening. I called them. We scheduled something. And they said, okay, perfect. The insurance accepted it, but then the day of the appointment. We have a ride service with the insurance. The adjuster called the day of the appointment and canceled the ride saying that it's not authorized.
Who canceled?
The insurance adjuster. She canceled the ride. So the lady working with insurance.
So we will not make a follow-up today because once I get it, and I'm going to talk to the highest level.
Thank you so much.
Insurance companies, because those are nothing. Come here, darling.
So the sleep study clinic has been trying to call the insurance for a month and a half. Now, the adjuster is the one that was not calling anybody back. She's not returning calls to doctors Queralt and Jody for the sleep study.
To send him to another place for a sleep study. I mean, there's not just one, there are more.
Okay,
Centers.
okay.
We have to have the sleep study. It's very important. Okay.
So I myself tried calling the adjuster because they've contacted her previously and the insurance adjuster. She didn't respond to anybody's call. Okay.
So there's no reason to go that way. Let's order the sleep study again and we go to another place because there are many centers.
But will it have to be approved?
Yes.
That's the problem. The approval is the problem.
Had any sleep study done in the last 6 months?
No.
No. So there's no reason why they refuse it. I don't understand.
They're asking. They are asking for a utilization review.
You know what is that? We have our notes.
Right?
Order sleep study a lot. They never refuse. This is absolutely justified.
Right?
We can do a peer review with them. So we'll do that because we need to
Okay.
sleep study.
When I finally was able to get somebody to respond back to me, they said that the referring doctor needs to submit a utilization review, and they gave a phone number and a fax number, which I gave it to her.
And she's
Adjuster?
it's a stupid battle. What we will do, because we play this game with them all the time,
Yeah.
eventually they will approve it.
Okay.
I will guarantee you. They will take 4 hours from our time because they like to do that.
Such a waste of time.
Yeah, that's what it is. And then I'll talk to them and then they'll approve it and they'll call you first.
Right?
Okay? Once I have the sleep study and I have a diagnosis, then I will tell you what I can do and what I cannot do because I can't treat if I don't have a diagnosis. There's nothing logic when it comes.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Insurance companies, they don't go by the good medical care or by logic. They go by money saving. That's their
Yeah.
guidance. Save money.
That's horrible.
So let me see you back when we get the sleep study.
The doctors have called today and every single day, and she hasn't gotten back. And Al doesn't.
I'll call them back and ask for her bosses.
Yeah, because maybe that might be better. Right, that's what I needed to.
Maybe that's what I need to do.
Perfect.
So she doesn't call me about 5 o'clock today, first thing in the morning, then I'll call and find out who her boss is, and then I'll call her boss.
That may be better, because she's not responding to any of the doctors, the sleep study office, or anybody.
That's what I'll do then.
In the meantime, I'll look into other options as far as what to do as the next step. It'll either be more imaging or some do Botox into that muscle there. That'll be the other thing to think about.
So I guess, you know, as far as specialists, Dr. Varga is the movement specialist. So to get those specialists and those protocols more than Dr. Varga, you'd have to go somewhere else, Houston, Dallas, New York. I don't know where you go. So there's no other person. That's why I got Morgan, I got workers' comp to pay for the specialist, because she is the one. You know?
Okay, and ultimately the insurance carrier makes the decision on whether you get approved to have a medication or a treatment or visit with a particular doctor or have a procedure done. So I can't say, I can recommend, but I can't guarantee they're going to do anything. And one of the things that happens in these situations with workers' comp is that there is a large book called the ODG, Official Disability Guidelines, and they have parameters that if you have XYZ problem, you should be able to be better in this amount of time. If you have ABC, it should go this amount of time. And so I'm not sure what it is for torticollis, because quite frankly, we don't see a whole lot of this very often. I mean, in 37 years, I've probably seen a few cases of adults, but it's not very common. So I don't know what the guidelines are for that, to be honest with you. Everything is screened by the insurance guys, so I can't see you any longer until I give us additional permission, and that's why I'm encouraging you to go see Jody, because she's the one that will submit those kinds of things. And, you know, it's going to be slow. There's nothing that's going to hold your head in the middle. I mean, without you pushing against it. We don't see very much of it. I mean, I've done this 37 years, and I've probably seen 4 or 5 cases in someone that's 15 years and older.
Or something like that, you know.
In terms of the injection you were mentioning, is that something that would have to be done?
Have to be done every 3 months, yes.
For life?
If this dystonia is not a cure.
Okay. Yeah,
it's pretty much for life. Pretty much for life.
We didn't know how to answer the questions. So the doctor wanted to have a phone call and address the questions. And I think Dr. Bricken was his name. He was getting very clearly irritated with the questions. And at one point he just said, "I don't think I can help you," and abruptly hung up the call.
Yeah, they typically are just dealing with a patient. They're typically just, and that's what they're used to, just dealing with with a patient. And it kind of, I'm assuming, you know, you guys maybe kind of threw off his game, you know.
Mention, are you able to, you know, with your expertise to beyond the shadow of a doubt, say that I have improved maximally, or are you saying that there still is room for improvement and that following the plan of the neurologist that I can actually improve better?
I can't say that. Okay, what I can say is that as I look through this medical file and we find different areas where people being healthcare providers, are doing evaluations on you and they're coming up with findings, okay, which I would compare with my findings. And I document that you had the recommended number of physical therapies for torticollis, okay, that everything for a sprain strain, and remember I've been doing this for 33 years, okay, sprain strain has a typical 6 weeks it's over. That's what happens with sprain strain, and the ideas of the medical field is that sprain strain should be resolved in 6 weeks. Okay, so they sometimes say 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, now some of them actually say that regardless of whether you do anything or not, it'll be resolved in 6 weeks. Whether you do any treatment or you don't do it, some of them will say that when you look at medical journals. So when I make an opinion, I have to make the opinion based on what has been directed to me, okay, for an evaluation of the treatment protocol. It does not say the patient improved. Okay, what it says is that the medical field has followed the recommended treatment protocol, and anything beyond that is going to have to be between the insurance carrier, the state, and what other doctors are recommending more beyond that. See, because I can't recommend. It's a matter that there is a differences of opinions, okay? Now, even when I turn in my findings aren't, okay, boom, definitive. They can be argued by the insurance carrier, and they can be argued by the Dispute Resolutions Board and by the court system.
So you mentioned...
You told me you only had 2 questions, and this is the 4th. I'm going out and see a patient in 2 weeks in Lubbock. The patient went to the emergency room with sprain strain of the lumbar back. Diagnosis, sprain strain lumbar back. 6 weeks later and 5 surgical procedures later, the patient was removed from the hospital. Is that a sprain strain? Surgical procedures. She's in a wheelchair. I'm going to go see her. Need to quit asking questions and let me help you up.
It's just that the benefits have already ended, which means my benefits won't start until the process you're talking about, where they fight it and get a second opinion, which could be like for months. But the damage for a patient like me within 4 months of no care. I'm going to be homeless with an injury, so I won't improve, and I may never get back to my previous condition. Like there's multiple issues that as a patient, you can never recover from due to them denying and delaying care.
Do you have unemployment? I mean, have you filed for unemployment? I'm just saying to you, if you guys have some type...
We didn't know how to answer them, so we tried to ask the questions.
Okay.
So the doctor wanted to have a phone call and address the questions on the phone. I forget Dr. Bricken. I guess he was getting very irritated with the questions, and at one point he just said, "I don't think I can help you. Bye." And he promptly hung up the call.
Yeah, they typically are just dealing. They're typically just, and that's what they're used to, just dealing with, with the patient. And it kind of, I'm assuming, you guys maybe kind of threw off his game with regard to how the injury affects daily life activities. And I have read through your reports numerous times, and I understand that there's probably going to be much of this interfere.
Right.
Personal hygiene.
Right.
Okay, not being able to comb and
right.
Stuff like that. So we're going to put personal hygiene, right? Physical activity.
No, there's no physical activity. It used to happen with the physical therapist. I think the patient had 12 sessions in November and December of last year.
Yeah, 12 sessions.
So that helped, right? After the exercises, after 1 hour session of exercises. Had a little bit more movement in the neck, but not that much, but like that much.
Okay. Now, travel, I'm assuming this affects travel.
It does.
You can't drive now, so you've got other drivers.
Right?
We're going to put travel as interfered with.
And the only travel patient has right now is to doctor's appointments.
And then sleep.
Sleep is very disturbed.
Interferes with sleep.
Yes.
Okay. And certainly interferes with social and recreational activity.
Yes.
All right, so we've got pretty much those. Now, okay. So pretty much not a problem before the accident. Okay. You have what's called in the medical arena an official disability guideline book. Okay. It's a big old huge book. Thank God it's on the internet now. Okay. And what that book is designed for is for people who are in the healthcare business to have guidance and direction on what they can and can't do, when they do it, when they don't do it, things of that nature. Now, the other side of the coin is the insurance company has the same book, okay? So when we as healthcare providers, I've been doing this for 33 years, when we ask to do something, two things need to happen. Number one, it needs to be in the book, and number two, the insurance company needs to know it's in the book. So if we ask for something like for a torticollis, okay, it's 12 physical therapy visits. That's what you get. We as healthcare providers say, yeah, but I think a few more would really help. Insurance company says, hey, ODG says 12, and they don't want to pay for any more than that. And they deny treatment. So when you see different types of treatments denied, it's because they go to this book that we've been using for 30 years, and it says what you can and you can't do, okay? That's why sometimes you guys have benefits review boards, dispute resolution board, things like that, so you can present a case, so to speak, or go to different people, who are looking from different directions, understand? Different directions, our psychologists, our neurologists, looking from different directions. What I have done with your neck is I have filled the muscle, and I have seen the asymmetrical movement, okay? Now, that bulge has been described also in the medical record. Go ahead. It's extremely tight. And you're right as far as that muscle pulling tightness, kind of a feeling. The main thing that's going on here as far as an impairment with you is the fact that you don't have symmetrical movement, and you have constant bulging, constant tightness that's going on. Now, I'm like the other doctors. I get patients that have been injured, automobiles, working, what have you. I know what the insurance carrier is going to do. They're going to cut me off at a certain level. So my primary emphasis at that point is to teach my patient what to do at home. They call them home exercise programs, okay?
The insurance is not recognizing
the diagnosis that the neurologist said, which is dystonia.
Right.
So are you able to diagnose dystonia?
Now, let me explain to you. It has been diagnosed and has been written in your medical file, both dystonia and torticollis. Now, there is not much difference. The dystonia just means that you have abnormal tightening, okay? And it can be come and go, whereas torticollis is usually just, man, it's there, okay? So you have in the medical file both the diagnosis of dystonia and torticollis. Whether or not the carrier specifically says, because in the what we call the 32 that I was sent to evaluate, cervical sprain strain, torticollis, okay?
Is that the same diagnosis as dystonia? It's very
close to dystonia. In other words, there's not enough difference that there would be different treatment. Okay, it's like I can say that's pain, or I can say that really hurts, and I still got the same message across. Dystonia, torticollis, sprain strain will all have the same treatment regime. Dystonia, torticollis, cervical sprain strain, okay, would not have more than the 12 physical therapy visits.
What about surgery? And like she had said, I probably need. The doctors said I need surgery and Botox.
And then you went and you had a peer review done by Dr. Aganda. Okay, it was probably a paper peer review. They probably didn't even see you. But the paper peer review was done by a medical doctor, and the medical doctor gave a long narrative from the medical journals that Botox is something that's only successful when you have an upper motor neuron.
Yeah, she said that it was required, that it's not optional. And she told us in a meeting, she said that the insurance company is proving they only care about money and not about doing the right thing.
Well, they're a business, there's no question about that. You're right about that. And those particular experts, which I'm not an expert in that particular arena, and the reason why, primary reason why I'm seeing you as a sports medicine doc is because they're accepting the torticollis and the cervical sprain strain. Now, to answer your question, the insurance carrier, yes, is a business. They want to make money and they want to save money. How do they save money? Deny, okay? Is there more going on here than has been attested? Okay, that's the question. Is there more going on? Now, you have some people that say, yes, there is. And you have some people that say, no, there isn't. For instance, the peer review doctor said, no, Botox won't work for this situation. It only works when you have a problem down here as a result of what's going on in the brain. Okay, that's what he says from his expert medical journals about Botox. Okay, so we as healthcare provider, but the insurance company, again, these are not guys who are just, oh, okay, doctor said this, I don't care how expert they are. They're going to get their doctors that they pay really well, to do all kinds of opposite research. It's just like reading a book. If you want to prove this point, you can find it somewhere in that book. If you want to prove the opposite point, you can find it somewhere in that book. So, when we treat a patient, we try to treat them as quickly as we can with the approved types of treatment programs designed for that, okay? In a normal torticollis scenario, whether it's a child born with torticollis, which we see a lot, okay, or whether it's in your particular case, an acquired torticollis, okay, the normal treatment program for that, okay, a collar, okay, pain medication, muscle relaxers, physical therapy, Okay, physical therapy for 12 visits over a period of 10 months. Okay, that's the normal treatment protocol for torticollis. I have gone a little bit beyond what my role is here. Okay, let me explain to you what my role is, and we'll talk about where I'm going. Okay, I do not comment on any of the treatment that has taken place. I do not comment on what any of the doctors have said. I do not give you an opinion, and I do not give you any recommendations. Okay, that's the role of the designated doctor. Okay, having been, I try to do that. Okay, so if you look at the treatment for neck sprain strain or torticollis, there has to be a treatment. Okay, where is it found? In the official disability guidelines book. Okay.
Is that something we can just find online?
Probably not, because see, I have to pay a lot of money every year to be able to get a code to be able to get on the official disability guidelines. I just went and did an examination in Houston, and the doctor that I was using down there, he was doing a peer review, and he had a question about the ODG, and he's not a part of it, and he wanted to know if I could get on. I said, you know, really, I can't. You know, he needs to get an ODG subscription to be able to do that. And I don't agree with having to pay that much money. I mean, it's part of what I do. Why do I have to pay every January $500 to be able to go to the ODG? So I'm just venting. You should be able to go in there and see, you know, what they approve and what they don't approve of. So, could there be something else going on? See, I can't make that opinion to you. I'm not allowed to. Okay, but you have other doctors.
And so, in your private practice,
The difference between the designated doctor role and the private practice role is we have been given the parameters that we have to stay in. And these people who are fighting for you, which is not me, okay, these are treating doctors who are fighting for you. No, I don't think that this is all that's going on. And that may be the case, but I'm not the guy to say.
so they're not getting your independent opinion about my status. They're simply asking you to follow guidelines
Yes,
and check boxes.
yes. See, the torticollis exist. That's not the question. The question is, according to the official disability guidelines, has everything been done for this patient that is recommended for a torticollis or a cervical sprain condition?
And that only comes if you are maximally improved, but the insurance company hasn't done proper treatment.
Let me give you a definition of maximum medical improvement. Maximum medical improvement has nothing to do with how you feel. It has nothing to do with your functional abilities. What maximum medical improvement says is that it is not anticipated that any additional care will functionally improve or give lasting improvement to this condition. That person can be at maximum medical improvement, and for the rest of their life they can be in discomfort. Maximum medical improvement has nothing to do with how you feel. It has nothing to do with how you function. It has to do only with, according to the official disability guidelines, has the things that have been recommended been done?
So basically, it's a legal thing, not a reality thing.
Well, there's nothing there's no reality about a person's pain, because it's totally subjective and we know nothing about it.
And the problem with this is that we're in the midst of a pandemic. It's almost Christmas time. The fact what this doctor says, this unqualified doctor will be used by the insurance company to stop payments, and then you can fight it. But sometimes it takes for months to fight it enough to then get back on benefits, which means then you can see doctors again. Then you can get surgeries or get what you need. So that means from November to possibly February or March, you are without benefits and without treatment. Now that means for a patient like me and others that you don't have enough money to pay rent, you don't have enough money to get food, and that means that you'll get kicked out of your apartment. And for example, with me, if I can't pay, I then get charged like 3 months in advance, so that would be $3,000 upfront. But I don't have that. So what happens when you can't pay your rent? And you can't pay the fee when you end your contract early? It goes on your permanent credit record. And then it's very difficult to get apartments in the future. So then, and what happens is I'm going to be kicked out of my apartment without food, without the living space, and I can't find another apartment system, however cheap it is, because they won't rent to somebody with bad rental credit, or someone who had been kicked out of their apartment and couldn't pay. It goes on your permanent record. So then I would be permanently without a place to rent. I would be without food. So I couldn't eat. That means I won't be getting better. I'll be getting worse. I'll be basically homeless with a disability. So I went from being employed with, a $90,000+ a year job to getting an injury on the job, and then being homeless because the company is unwilling to provide the proper care. Like, this is an outrage that this still happens in the United States. That means over Christmas and during the pandemic, I'll be without a place to live, not by the fault of my own, but by the insurance company and the employer and the doctors in the network who all collaborate to undermine patient care. Because I can't go back to work because I still have this injury, which nobody would be able to accommodate. And because every job requires you stand for 2 to 8 hours a day, and I can't do that, those types of jobs, because of the injury. So therefore, during the pandemic and during Christmas, I will be homeless, without food, without the ability to get medical care, and I won't even be able to provide my own care. I won't be able to even pay for my own physical therapy or pay for my own, anything. So then I'm going to get worse, and then it could be a permanent disability unless I get care. But I'm not getting care because of the problem in the system. So it's just all around a horrible process. It's like a circle of getting fucked, and there's no way out of it unless the laws change and the less politicians stand up for the rights of patients. And really, I think that this is an American value. I think it's very American to stand up for patients and stick up for those in society who, need help. I think that's a very American thing. I think people every year give millions to charities, but then patients who need help, they don't get help that they need. So it's kind of this backward thing, like, hey, let's give money to charities. But oh no, let's not improve the patient system to help those who are most vulnerable, who need the most help. Like, what's up with that? If you can give, billions to different charities every year, you can surely fix the work compensation and insurance healthcare system. Isn't that making a difference in the world? Wouldn't that be something that would change the lives of millions? Wouldn't that be fulfilling our duty as believers? Christians, those with faith. Wouldn't that be living out our obligation as faithful, godly people to make a difference for the least of these? Where is the compassion? See, the issue, as you can see from the appointment today, is that this doctor is not able to make that determination on whether there's additional surgery or Botox or additional treatments needed. He said himself that he's just there to look at the notes that have already been written and to check boxes, basically. Okay, 12 physical therapy visits, check. Taking medicine, check. Therefore, based on these basic check boxes, then that means that you are maximally improved and your impairment rating is enough where you can still go to work or whatever. So basically, there's many issues with this. And this is a whole important to know, because the insurance company will base payments off of their statements, even though they're not qualified, and even though they get paid only by the insurance company, even though they're biased, and even though other doctors have said something different and said, you need additional care, they just come in, and it's a rigged process, essentially.
The insurance company can technically cut off your check for any reason and force us to go to a hearing to get your check started back up again. Now, if they have no basis in cutting off your check, that just supports our position to, when we're in the hearing, to win. But you still have to go through the process of going through the hearing, unfortunately. So I know you were confused and frustrated how they would cut off your check, but that is what they do. They cut it off, and then they force our hand, and we have to move forward to get things resolved. They understand understand the situation, you know, as does the benefit review officer, as far as what happens with the state. You know, if we go in front of a judge, then I think the judge will understand, and there will be good cause to get you that week of back benefit. But it's something that we're going to have to address. And I'm going to need to get a copy of this report from this doctor and potentially address that as well, on top of this pending MD exam that's being set up by the benefit review to get a judge's decision. That's the problem with the state of the insurance company can cut you off at any point without any basis. Now, does it mean we have a good case when we're in front of a judge to win? Yes, but it forces you to go through that very tedious process to get to that point.
In the process, for us to fight it, does it take like a 3-week, 4-week turnaround? And then how would I pay for any of my ongoing treatment in the meantime?
So I believe that they're going to start up your income benefits again, based on the fact that you went to the doctor today. I'm waiting on confirmation of that, though. So I just want to tell you for sure. So when I hear back from them as to where they stand on this, I will be able to tell you where we're going with this. Because it could be anywhere from they start up your check today, and then all we have to deal with is this week's back pay. Or they could say, we want to wait until he's the MD and see what the MD says about these injuries. And if the MD says, yes, they're related, they start up the check. That could be 3 weeks away. Or they could say, you know what, we're not going to pay anything. Take us straight to a judge. And that could be 4 months.
Right. And so, in the worst case scenario, the insurance company is basically just playing a game with me as a patient where they don't care that I'm not getting my treatment. They don't care. All they're caring about is being able to withhold payment.
They care about a dollar figure bottom line. And that's it.
Like, do we later get to argue that, well, this for months or for weeks, caused additional injury and I would be kicked out of if that happened, I would be kicked out of my apartment for non-payment. It would then permanently affect my credit score, so I couldn't get another apartment. So it would render me homeless basically. I wouldn't be able to pay for my own physical therapy, so basically it would go from being someone who's employed to someone who was homeless. Because they didn't make the proper medical, they didn't authorize the proper medical treatment. I mean, is there penalties for that sort of improper care?
There used to be, but the Supreme Court of the state has wiped out. It was a cause of action called bad faith. So back in the day, back when I first started doing this, the insurance company used to be required to have medical in order to dispute things and to do this kind of stuff. And if they acted without any basis, you could sue them for the damages, which is all the stuff that you're listing, based on them acting in bad faith. The Supreme Court, I think it was back in 2009, said, you know what? Bad faith no longer exists in the state in regards to workers' compensation claims. It does in regards to other insurance-type claims, but workers' comp adjusters are essentially given free rein to do whatever the hell they want without repercussions.
Is there still, attorneys who filed lawsuits against the insurance company for bad faith, even in these cases? No.
Because it doesn't exist anymore. There's no attorney is going to file that lawsuit because it's going to get thrown out immediately of court because it's no longer a cause of action that can be pursued. Now, I think the legislation and the way that they have built this workers' comp law system and the way that the higher-ups, like the Supreme Court, for example, makes these changes are doing this because the insurance company lobbyists are very good at what they do, and they're trying to keep their bottom line low, and these people are essentially falling for it. Something that we are definitely going to use because we did contact the ED office prior to this appointment, and they said we were going to be able to redesignate. So it was actually the state that gave us that misinformation, and that definitely will fall under good cause. But that is going to be an issue that we take up with the extent of injury once we get this report.
Carrier. And I sent a letter to that I didn't think it was good cause provided under the rule, the reasons that were given. And on that basis, the carrier did file their PLN 9 and they stopped Tibbs on 10/29. So in the information you supplied us, is that the same? Because there was some confusion as what may have been told that they were going to redesignate with another doctor of the.
Back from the doctor. They are doing that. So this is what insurance companies do. I would say like 95% of the disputes that we have to take up are on extended injury issues. So what the insurance company does is they will dispute, like let's say for example, the best way to describe it is let's say you had a back injury, okay? They will accept a sprain strain, which is a very minor injury. But if you have a herniated disc, they won't accept that, more serious injury. That's going to require more payment because it's going to obviously give you more treatment because it's a more serious injury. It's more time off of work, it's more income benefits that have to be paid, and more payment for medical care. So insurance companies, it's their claim. If XYZ is going to cost me a lot, I'm going to search in this medical, and I'm going to find something that's going to be minimal cost, and that's what we're going to hang our hat on, even though they don't have any medical necessarily supporting their position. That is why we force them into an extent of injury dispute where we say, we think it's more, you need to accept this dystonia, and then they're forced to get medical saying, no, it's not related. And if they can't get medical saying, no, it's not related, they end up accepting it. But that's kind of where we are, the corner that we're turning on this case.
Right. But in one of the papers I was sent by Sedgwick for denying the sleep study, they have acknowledged a dystonia. But in the letter that they're sending to the independent review doctor, they don't accept dystonia as a possible condition for.
Whenever the state doctor evaluates, the law says that the state doctor only evaluates on what's considered the accepted compensable injury. However, the state doctor has the freedom to make opinions on whether he or she thinks that the injury is more than that. And oftentimes I will see in these reports the state doctors say, I'm rating based on this that's accepted. However, I think this should be a part of the injury, and based on this, I'm not going to give a rating because you're not ready yet. So that is why they sent that. But that also is an example of why we have this extended injury dispute now coming about.
Right? Cause on the one hand, them saying they don't acknowledge, but on the other hand, a form sent by the insurance company itself had written on their dystonia, so it almost seemed the insurance company onto separate forms were contradicting themselves.
Exactly, but that's what happens because they don't really actually have anything supporting their opinion. They're just kind of grabbing on to whatever is the quote-unquote cheaper diagnosis and going with that. So for someone who doesn't understand how the workers' comp system works and you don't have to live it day in and day out and you're experiencing it for the first time, it seems very counterintuitive. How can they base something not on medical facts? How can they choose the TA over the specialist?
Right.
But unfortunately, it's what they do, and the state allows them to do that. Now, we are then given our opportunity to say, well, screw you, we're going to fight you on this. And we back them in a corner and we force them to get that medical, saying, no, it's not related. And if they can't get medical saying, no, it's not related, they end up accepting it. But that's kind of where we are, the corner that we're turning on this case. But they can really just dispute things because they think the wind is blowing weird. I mean, the state gives them complete freedom to dispute things based on nothing, unfortunately.
Information back from the insurance. Sounds like it's hard to even know what's going on as far as the insurance goes.
I'm going to give her this in that way. Have you contacted Maureen Klein by any chance? I mean, it would probably help you to call her because she is your liaison with the Sedgwick to see why you haven't gotten your pay. The mistakes that they did, they should do something.
My job, the reason why I'm here is because obviously you're hurt, right? And we need to figure out, I know who the doctors in this area is that take workman's comp. And so I can help with expediting care, trying to get treatment done for you and everything, okay? That's why I'm here. I'm here to help you and help the adjuster trying to figure out how to get you better. Okay?
So do I have a say in the process?
The adjuster, either way, your adjuster wants me involved. Whether I meet with the doctor afterwards, that's fine. But you won't know what I'm asking her if I'm not in the room with you at the same time.
I kind of would like a private appointment.
Okay, well, can you, and that I'll tell her that you want to meet with, you want me to meet with you afterwards. Will you sign the consent so I can get records?
Is that a requirement?
They prefer it to be signed so that way you know that who's asking for the records. And so that, because by law, they have a right to your records.
Do they not already have them?
I don't know. I know they're getting some of your records. I do know that.
Because I knew that was my understanding. Yep.
Yeah, I've gotten the last couple of appointments. So,
Oh, hi, how are you? Trick question, I know.
So that's been difficult for me. So I've been unable to, pay for things I need.
And I spoke with Tamala about that, and she said that the checks have been going out, and she's only aware of one that she had to cancel and reissue.
So I think all of them were kind of late. So she said. So that one, she said she reissued it. But the other ones didn't come yet either. And so the next one should have come on like 14th or 15th, and that didn't come. So the second one didn't come. Okay, and then the third one didn't come, which should have come on Tuesday of this week.
Dr. Quirrell did mention about Botox. I'm assuming he does not do the Botox, and that you'd have to be referred to a neurologist for that, but I don't know. Okay, because it sounds like he initiated that referral for the Botox.
So what else have you tried? You've done the C-collar.
He's done 12 visits of physical therapy.
Are you still going in PT?
No, he's completed it. So what I'm wondering is, once you get the Botox that Dr. Quirrell recommended, he can order some more physical therapy after the Botox, is what I'm wondering may happen, and they might approve it at that time, you know.
They found that there's not usually, there's usually not that much improvement after that, and they haven't found any with the research that it helps much after that. I'm trying to see about the Botox, if that's in guidelines or not here. Have they already sent it?
According to the note, it said referral initiated. So if he does end up doing Botox, do you have any neurologists?
Yes.
Good.
Yes. There is a neurologist.
I
So,
need the name of a neurologist.
okay,
It says work comp.
so there's a group called Genesis.
Okay.
They're fabulous.
Okay.
Because if there's anything you can't find, they usually have it.
Okay.
And
so they have neurologists as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
yes, they have a neurologist, neurospine doctor.
Okay.
They have an ortho spine doctor. They do everything,
Okay.
even MMIs and IMEs.
Nice.
I mean, it's a number you need to have because they also have psychologists.
Okay.
And they even have a psychologist that does EMDR.
Oh, okay.
And Jody and what's the Dr. Derberry are the captain of the ships. So basically, in workman's comp, they write all the referrals. They do your work status updates, which we have to have by law monthly. And when I looked at the ODG for the Botox, it's really, because I looked it up right here, and this is all the stuff. It says it's not recommended for all of that.
Okay.
It's still saying that it's saying for cervical dystonia, but not recommended for mechanical, including whiplash.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Saying it has torsion or tilt.
criteria for use in cervical dystonia. Okay, so that should be fine.
And then it says that there's not a lot of studies about it.
Sure, I figured that, yeah.
So it's going to be one of these things on how the utilization review person interprets all of this.
Okay.
I don't know this doctor, so I can't say if he'll talk to me afterwards or not.
Okay. So she knows what needs to be written in order for it to get approved. Yeah, so that's a good thing to have.
Because I have all the little ODGs and everything on my little computer here that I can look it up over, like I'm doing now. I can look it up and tell you exactly the rationales on things on why they are or are not getting approved.
Yeah, and that's the guidelines that work comp uses is ODG. So that's why we have to
mean,
talk about that.
You have to have a lot of documentation and good explanations of reason why for something to go outside of guidelines. It can happen, but there's got to be a really good reason and lots of improvement we're seeing before they're going to trump what this says. And basically the two doctors, if it's outside of guidelines, they'll require peer-to-peer. So, you know, and it's not just Sedgwick that does this. It doesn't matter which insurance, they all work the same.
The request has to be written a certain way in order to increase your chances of it getting approved, which is where she comes in and can help.
And that, you know, because I can pull it up and say, this is what they, you know, and it does make sense for, it may help you, but there's never 100% on something like this one. It's still.
Yeah, since it is an unusual injury. Yeah,
I mean, I've seen the neck, the back being somebody have a spinal fusion and can't straighten it up, but not the neck.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a hard one when you haven't, and I don't think that diagnosis has been listed.
What, the torticollis?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's what I put every time I say
Okay.
Okay. You need it on the note from today, or you need it on the CBT?
I need it on all the notes.
Okay.
I need it on the CBT.
Okay.
I need it on the note from today.
Okay.
And hopefully Dr. Quarles notes that too. I haven't seen it, so you may want to talk to him and ask him to make sure he specifies that.
Okay.
Because especially for the Botox
and I think he put it in his note. Cervical thoracic pain with torticollis.
But we need it coded as the torticollis.
Okay. Okay. I will call over there and let the front desk know. However, his front desk may need a few other reminders.
Well, I can remind them on the 10th.
Okay, there you go.
And if they may not do it based on me telling them, but yeah, that needs to be in the code because they're gonna really look at that, even if it's in the note. I don't think it stands out as much as if it's coded that way.
Yes, that makes sense. Okay. Okay, I can do that.
Because they need the maximum amount of explanations on.
We have to dot all of our I's and cross all of our T's. Yes. Okay, sounds good.
Does that make more sense today? And we're just trying to get you better. And she knows that and sends everybody to me. That needs a field case manager when the cases are getting too challenging. She sends them all. I'm pretty much the only one she uses for field case management because she knows that I know the doctors in this area and I'm finding her doctors really fast, a lot faster. Nothing about bleeding. Loss of coordination, tired, double vision.
Oh, chiropractor?
Not the traditional one that does the manipulations, but there is a what is he called? Something. And there's only one doctor I know that does it. He's in Kyle. And they do it's like doing where he works on the particular nerve category to try to get the muscles to reset the brain back to where it doesn't even since he's been like this for so long, his brain may not.
That's the new norm for his brain.
Right. And so it's trying to reprogram the brain and then also helps with getting the muscles more relaxed, and
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
he's under the chiropractic category, but he's not a traditional chiropractor. Not a critical candidate. You know, there's something else that can be considered, you know, as an option. You know, when I have a couple of people there that's basically, we can't figure out how to get rid of that last little bit of pain so they can go back to work on full duty. And, you know, made massive improvements.
Oh, wow.
That may be a way to go. I know spine surgeons are not, or spine doctors aren't real big on them, but let me see if I have it, because to get that through, I'm gonna need it, but I also even more so needed that one diagnosis on it.
Yeah, okay.
So. Well, I want to ask you one more time if you're willing to sign the consent.
She's the one that would send the request for any additional treatment or any additional referrals to the insurance carrier. Okay, and ultimately the insurance carrier makes the decision on whether you get approved to have a medication or a treatment or visit with a particular doctor or have a procedure done. So I can't say, I can recommend, but I can't guarantee they're going to do anything. And one of the things that happens in these situations with workers' comp is that there's a large book called the ODG, Official Disability Guidelines, and they have parameters that if you have XYZ problem, you should be able to be better in this amount of time. If you have ABC, it should go this amount of time. And so I'm not sure what it is for torticollis, because quite frankly, we don't see a whole lot of this. It's just not that common. Most of the time we see this, well, we don't see it because we don't do pediatrics, but kids are born with it. It's not something that's acquired very, very often. I mean, in 37 years, I've probably seen a few cases of adults, but it's not very common. So I don't know what the guidelines are for that, to be honest with you. And patient reports that unless upper extremities are being employed, you will resume left lateral flexion, period.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you, what can I do for you? I've already told you this. I have nothing. I do not know what it is. I do not think there's an injury. What can I do?
So the workers' compensation system is, there's no rhyme or reason to it, and it seems counterintuitive, which is why you're confused and frustrated. We have to get to a state doctor, build up that evidence, and we're most likely, depending on what the state doctor says, going to have to go in front of a judge to make sure all this gets accepted. But workers' comp adjusters are essentially given free rein to do whatever the hell they want without repercussions.
It sounds to me like he's not there to determine and he said that to us. He's not there to determine, yeah, you need more treatment or yes, they properly treated you. He's just there to say 12 sessions of physical therapy check. Gabapentin, you know, medicine check. Okay, they've done the maximum amount. You know, you're maximally improved essentially. That seems like a really rigged process that, if he's objective, then he should have the ability to give his recommendation. But checking a box is not objective.
He does. He's actually incorrect in that. The designated doctor.
So it's not actually. He wasn't assessing anything. He was just seeing if they did the things. I mean, he didn't even really touch my neck, or look at my neck, or do an examination for me. He was just looking at the records. Check the boxes, and that he basically just said that, you know, they spend lots of money on just the doctors that will support their point of view, and he said maximally improved, as not a thing, it's just the opinions, you know, they'll find doctors that support their opinion, so the problem with that is that, you know, he admitted you have torticollis, You know, he said that, and he said that you will need ongoing care, but he wasn't there to offer his recommendation like, oh, well, I think you need 3 or 6 more visits, or I think you need this.
Great. So this report is, you can tell that he's doing exactly what he said he was doing, is just checking the box. So he doesn't mention anything about anything other than what the accepted injury is, which is the cervical torticollis and the sprain strain. And he doesn't really give an opinion one way or another on whether he thinks that there's more to the case. But that being said, it's just a very blanket, this is what's accepted by the insurance company. This had obvious resolve, so I'm giving an impairment rating of this. Now, it is, and this is where it's going to get difficult for you, the checks aren't start yet. Because once you go to a state doctor, if that state doctor assigns you an impairment rating, the impairment rating is at 3 weeks per percentage point. Okay, so in this case, the doctor gave you a 5%, which would entitle you to 15 weeks of benefits. However, those 15 weeks of benefits are calculated as of whatever the MMI date is. And because he backdated the MMI date to December of 2019, obviously those 15 weeks have run. Rating, and what he was basically explaining is, I can't say one way or another if I think it's related because I'm not qualified. This is kind of what I was explaining last time. The insurance company can cut off the check at any given point, at any time, without warning, just because they feel like it, essentially. And to get them to start it back up, you have to have, we either have to get a designated doctor that says they have to start these checks back up or they'll be fined. Well, that's not happening right now because this doctor didn't do that. Or we have to get it we have to get a judge that essentially says, listen, you have to have these checks started back on. 80% of the time come back in favor of my injured workers. Yes, and we had done that. And the state messed up, and that's something we talked about at the Benford Review Conference. The state messed up by not setting that issue with the MMI impairment, which is why the mediator got involved and had to send out that directive to force the state to set it on extent and MMI impairment with an MD.
Even though his opinion doesn't matter, it still is quoted by the insurance company, so they essentially know that his opinion doesn't matter, but they're using it just for their legal purposes to deny. But when like a patient like me, if you stop payments and you're not able to get food, that has real repercussions. So how is the insurance allowed to quote a doctor that isn't even qualified, that, can't really make these decisions, but then have it affect my care?
Because in the state, they essentially let the insurance company do whatever the hell they want. I mean, I'm not agreeing and saying it's a good system. I think it's a terrible system that has gotten worse throughout the years because of the way the Supreme Court has ruled on certain issues and cases that we were allowed to take up to hold them accountable. And they've essentially wiped out bad faith in respect to workers' compensation cases, and that has opened the door for insurance companies to do whatever the hell they want.
Is the 4th edition that is being used by the doctors less favorable for patients, and that it actually is less good for patient care? Is that correct?
Yes, and unfortunately, the 4th edition is the one that the state mandates is used. So again, we're dealing with, if we were in California, it'd be a different ballgame. Or if we were in New York, it'd be a different ballgame. They use a different edition. They're much more injured worker friendly, has done everything, like I said, in their power over the past years and years and years to not make this system injured worker friendly.
I didn't know you had a lawyer too. This is awful.
She's been causing a little too much hassle.
I don't understand how this works, but I think case managers, like when workers' comp pays, they get their own people. It's not private like your private insurance. There's administrators, advisors, whatever, that look through all the chart and read all the notes, look at everything. So I don't know whether you're gonna, I don't respect it of you, but it may be that there's no option but to have this case manager or another case manager. You can request a different one. Maybe yours, but they already give you problems. Who's giving you problems?
The checks have not been coming ever since she's gotten on the case. All of January, the checks haven't come in.
But then beyond that, like, whatever I mentioned to you that she recommends the functional therapist, you didn't know that she didn't tell you.
I thought that was just some sort of specialized neurology.
We thought the same. So I looked it up and it said chiropractor. That's not what she said.
Well, yeah, right? So go with the questions. I'm going to ask for a neurologist, yes. So we'll ask it again. Chiro help? No, we don't need a chiro at this point.
My message?
What message?
That you have an appointment tomorrow in Kyle to see Dr. Guerrero, and then MRI on Thursday, and transportation has been set up.
I didn't know that. It's in
I sent you an email, and I know you haven't gotten the letter, but I also have left messages for you to call me.
I didn't see that. Is there an email? So I don't know about the appointments.
Okay, because I have sent you an email. The letter won't be there until tomorrow. Let me write down the appointment so you know the times. Tomorrow's at 1 o'clock.
Let's see. So, you booked these without confirming with me.
I was instructed to by your adjuster. She told me to schedule him because we haven't been able to get a hold of him.
We've asked you to email. Like, even the adjuster, we've talked constantly to email instead of call because we have horrible network.
And we've been trying to get a hold of you. And I've sent emails as well. And everything, so.
And again, like we said, we would like to speak to Dr. first about it. And so you should have at least waited till after today's appointment.
I was instructed by the adjuster.
Right? And if we have a conversation and he says it's not necessary, so that's going to be another cancellation.
That will be a decision that will be made, the adjuster.
Are those decisions made between my doctor and I?
I will find out what his decision is.
So the thing is, the case manager lady, she's forcing them to do things. And spoke to Dr. Queralt, sent a message saying that, hey, she found a functional neurologist who was a chiropractor. Dr. Queralt was like, oh, I didn't know. It was a functional neurologist, like a chiropractor. I'll ask my office to look for a neurologist. But she still already set an appointment for Monday or Tuesday. She'd been pushing things that Dr. Queralt didn't recommend. So she calls Dr. Queralt's office and talks to him. We haven't given her permission to talk to our doctors without patient being present.
I just think that specific accommodation, that where I still do my work, but if it's hard for me to turn my head, and that's what the team wants. I can still lead meetings, but my head will just pull towards the wall. But then that can't be held against me later, where somebody says that I was not leading the meeting when my head was turned toward the wall, because my head pulls to that direction, and I can't put it straight.
My advice from HR on this is that the coaching form does not have to take into account any medical accommodations. The coaching form is related to the job requirements and does not need to take into account any medical accommodations.
Okay,
That was advice.
Patient is unable to talk much. Is in a lot of pain.
You need to reschedule the exam whenever it's able, then we can do
that because we can't reschedule the exam because each time we reschedule, doesn't get paid and conditions getting worse.
Schedule talk to TDI, but he's not able to move or do anything right now. I won't be able to, as much as I can, with all my respect, I came from to see you, have an interest to help. However, this is what we are doing right now. And he's not able to stand by or do anything or talk. There is not much that I can do. I'm so sorry about that. I really apologize.
Because we weren't informed before the appointment, or we would have the lawyer deal with that.
And I wasn't aware each case, how the situation is. I apologize. I expect everybody come and be able to talk to me, be able to move, be able to do everything. Point. Somebody's in a circumstance in which they cannot do anything. I should have also, they should inform me of the situation. Nobody informed me from your part that it was such a, special case. Even to stand by herself or do anything by herself, you need to reschedule.
Just give me 1 second. I'm just going to make a real quick call and figure out what needs to be done.
I mean, in such a situation, I do understand. I just cannot do the exam. You're not able to talk to me, do anything, move, do anything. It just can't work like that. Because, for me to do the exam, he needs to stand, he needs to move, and he's only able to lay down and not do anything else. We need to reschedule the exam.
So, doctor, this is just how the situation is for the last 9, like the last year.
I understand, but and I'm not trying to be difficult, but if somebody just needs to be laying down at home, they cannot count, regardless of the situation.
Just give me 1 sec, like 1 minute. I'll try to figure it out.
I understand why you need to talk to whoever, and my respect to you, my apology to you. However, he's not able to do the exam today. It doesn't matter who you talk to. He's not going to be able to do what I need to do. And then he cannot talk to me, he cannot be...
The exam. I am calling on behalf of since the patient isn't able to talk or move much, the doctor says we need to reschedule the appointment. So please give me a call back as soon as you can. The number is thank you.
I guess they can talk a little.
My concern is, seems to be in discomfort. I mean, somebody that's like, I don't feel comfortable doing the evaluation with in this way.
Right, but this is how it is all the time.
Can do the evaluation when he's...
Okay. But sir, we were waiting for so long to get this appointment. Cause payments have stopped. Patient is about to be kicked out of their house. There's nowhere to live, no food, no money. So we were hoping to have this appointment faster, so the insurance can start treatments. For the last 7 months, the insurance has not done any treatment. The neurologist, the specialist, has constantly asked for physical therapies, sleep study, Botox. Nothing has been done for, so we were trying to get this appointment fast so we can start up treatments faster. But like now you're asking to reschedule, and this is how condition it is. So even if you rescheduled for a month later, this is how condition is because the medicines are almost out now and we don't have money or even money to buy medicines. Or go to the store.
Yeah, but it seems to me like he needs perhaps, go to hospital or something in the way that looks like to me in distress.
This is how it's been the last months. I cannot do
I cannot do the exam. Somebody that comes in such a much distress and pain cannot talk because of pain.
Would we have to find another doctor?
Because if you're not willing to do this, this is how it is. So even if you reschedule for a few months down the road next week, this is how it is. Like, it's really stressful to see like this. I mean, we're hoping to have a designated doctor look at them and help them.
I'm so sorry, ma'am, but I am not aware before I do somebody who the person is going to look like. I cannot determine, so I could have told you. I cannot tell you if the person is like this, please don't come. It just, it's difficult and I understand, but...
I don't know what to do.
I will send a report to the party. Now, there is a possibility if, when I get my conclusion, I need like 2 to 3 days. I need to see the report. 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 I let's say, neurologist.
Okay.
Do an evaluation, you know, since I'm not a neurologist and I did my best to get as much information, but if that happens, then the report won't be ready until whenever we get that appointment set up.
So would we have to go to another neurologist?
I'm not a neurologist, I'm just a doctor, I'm a family practitioner, but when I do my evaluation, if I come to the conclusion that I need an extra expertise
right
to get my final decision, my office will contact you or contact and explain how that's going to work.
Okay.
Yeah, pain has just been worsening, and like we said, there's another bulge on the other side, so that's just causing a lot more pain.
Okay. Do we need to call an ambulance? I'm concerned about the hand positioning here. I don't know.
Like, since the last, I want to say about a month since we last. Since we last spoke, it has just been worsening. And this is exactly how he's at the designated doctor's appointment as well.
Oh my God.
And see if there's anything you can do for the other bulge on the other side. In the last few months, the gabapentin has not really been working and it's just getting worse and the whole situation is getting worse. The insurance cut off the pay. It's getting more difficult as patient hasn't been able to eat any food
Oh
over.
my goodness. Do we need to bring a wheelchair?
If he needs that much help, he needs to have a wheelchair. Hold on.
We don't need to call an ambulance for this?
This clinic right now, that's the question, because we're a non-treating facility. I think we need to. I agree. This isn't something that we can do here. Yeah, we're gonna call. Hey, Judy. Okay, we'll let, okay. You called 911. Hi, yes, hold on one sec, we're in the process of doing vitals on, okay? Sorry, we just got thrown into this last minute. It's EMS, what would you like me to report to them?
Weak.
Okay, oh, go ahead.
Unable to walk, minimally responsive.
Minimally responsive, no, non-coherent, not verbally responsive. Eyes are closed. Yeah, okay, they're on their way.
Okay, increased numbness, like from right here to the shoulders and hands. I remember saying that a couple of weeks ago. So that's increased along with the pain. Almost out of gabapentin, but there's no money to go to the pharmacy. So if you could put into the insurance asking the adjuster to approve rides to the pharmacy.
So right now, I don't know that the insurance Cedric is going to be any more help. It doesn't look stable to me health-wise. That's why we're calling 911.
Has no money and conditions not getting better and the insurance companies basically just not doing anything. If you could put in a request for physical therapy or aquatic therapy. I think our last treatment that got was the physical therapy that was last December. So it's been a year since anything was being done. Dr. Vargas says the insurance is not listening too.
Right.
Feels like nothing's working. Like everything in the system, it's just working against patients not getting any treatments.
You're gonna have to go outside of work comp in order to get treatment.
But again, for that, we called a bunch of places, and when we explained the situation, they said that for this, it will cost a few $100 to a few $1,000. They said nothing's free. And for cases like dystonia, they said it's going to be more expensive because you're going to need to see a specialist. It's just a hassle trying to get care. And then additionally, we don't know or even make it to the next appointment because patient will be kicked out at any time. So from my understanding, what they told me is that they can help find something, but the cheapest they'll find us is between $700 to $1,000. And that has a long waiting list until February.
I think with the pandemic, it's just getting worse. It's not been easy for them. It's been a year since the last physical therapy session was done. The insurance company isn't going to do anything because they don't care about their patients.
Right.
But do you think as a doctor and caregiver we can do something to make the patient feel better? Because it's getting very difficult for them.
If you mentioned whiplash in your reports, that doesn't count as dystonia or doesn't have Botox as a treatment that Dr. Varga was mentioning.
Yeah, I think I remember them talking about, I remember Carly talking something like that. Here we are. We're good. Okay. Hello. Who I have been seeing for the past year for torticollis. And today came in for an evaluation because workers' compensation is it sounds like they're gonna close out the case. They've said not been eating well, been pretty much bedbound at home. So I'm just concerned that there's more going on than the torticollis, you know.
As far as medical history.
Whenever I filled out medical history a year ago, I don't think put anything down.
Okay. Take some big deep breaths. Slowly breathe.
There seems to be a little pain stoking, which I'm concerned about too.
For that. You take anything for pain? Have you been taking anything for pain? Get your feet off of these.
You can just take it there and then it'll be out of the way. Thank you.
Come out the other side here.
I'll scoot you up.
So do you know where you guys are gonna take me?
David's. You have a preference on which hospital we take you to?
Treatment. I mean, this sounds like something like really like a long term.
That's it. I want to say it's a scam for the last year and nobody's treated. The last actual treatment was physical therapy in December 2019 and nothing says since. Patient has just been meeting with doctors, having conversations that lead to no treatment. The physical therapy helped. It was the insurance company that decided that they don't want to help anymore and he kept declining it. And the neurologist recommended physical therapy 6-7 months ago. The insurance company is being non-responsive. We'd asked Jody to put in a request last month at the appointment. She thought that they won't approve that, so she didn't put in a request. So right now this is where we're at. Patient is getting no active treatment. The insurance company is doing nothing. The neurologist wants to get tests and studies done. The insurance company is declining everything. And they stopped benefits. Has not received a check for the last month and a half, 2 months not paid in 2 months is barely surviving on scraps. And patient can't get food, no one helps get food to house. And has no money to Uber there because the insurance company is not accepting, to cover for rides. I don't think anybody's willing to help. Patient was working at Ascension and they do this to their own employees. They don't treat their own employees right. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude. It's just...
You're
not being rude. Everything you've said, I agree. You haven't said anything that's untrue at all.
You probably fixed up the
remember if there was a CPT request. I'd have to look at it again.
What is a CPT code?
Hmm?
What is a CPT request?
A CPT code is how healthcare providers used to charge the insurance.
Because I remember Joe reaching out and saying someone from this facility reached out to her.
Right.
And we signed a release of information so that Joe could discuss with you and you could put the request into the system.
Do you know if the insurance has approved or declined or done anything with it? You mentioned earlier that insurance has shut down, started to close out case. Is that true? Are they doing that?
Usually whenever they go for a designated doctor exam, that's to close.
And from your experience, how many % of the times does that actually close out the case?
99.
So now since patient hasn't been paid 2 months, they have gotten an eviction notice. So the address that I give you, I'm not sure. Well, sure, we'll figure that out. God will probably be living in the streets. Well,
that would be a problem, and they won't be able to do photo lab.
because not being able to pay for a Wi-Fi or, the phone connection. So the phone connection comes up in the next couple of days. That's another payment. Isn't going to be able to make, so that will be cut off. The Wi-Fi isn't working currently. So I think that's been cut off too. That's where
Is that a neurologist or?
she's a neurologist. She specializes in dystonia. And from her initial evaluation, she's been asking for a sleep study
But the insurance company won't approve it, even though specialist is recommended.
for surgery or Botox or a combination of both.
You think when a doctor recommends something, that the insurance company would approve it, right?
Yeah.
But they're still not.
They're just ignoring. Initially, they ignored her calls. The adjuster didn't bother returning their calls, and then they just started declining everything. It's not fun. You shouldn't get injured. Was an employee at Ascension who was the biggest healthcare, and they're not doing anything.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's not good to take medicine without being able to eat.
Yeah, sure.
No, for sure, because that's such a.
It's not good to not eat.
Yeah, it's like you're stuck, like catch-22.
Because the first time patient went to physical therapy, there were some improvements, but even Dr. Varga mentioned that since it wasn't continuously approved, whatever progress was made, however small, has gone back. Okay, if you could put in the request for a ride service, at least I could pick up medicine, that would help. Okay, could you put in a request for the specialist in?
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Would you be able to put in a request for physical therapy too?
I can. I don't know how far it will get, but I can at least submit.
And you guys did one designated doctor, I think in November, for the 5% impairment rate.
Send it.
In Sedgwick's eyes, that closes the case, and nothing else will be approved. However, I know that you guys did another designated doctor exam December the 3rd or something like that,
Right?
which said it was not at a permanent, not at maximum medical improvement, expected to be so March of 2021, and they did not give an impairment rating.
Okay.
That's MMI. So what is going to happen next is the Division of Workers' Compensation is going to set up a third designated doctor exam to decide which one is the correct one, the one that was done in November or the one that was done in December. The case is closed, according to Sedgwick.
So is there a reason why Sedgwick closed the case, even though the doctor said that ongoing care is necessary?
I don't know that answer unless the doctor wanted to get ongoing care under personal medical insurance.
No, he said that it would be, the company would be liable for ongoing care.
Yeah, that would be something you would have to clarify with Sedgwick, because I don't know that answer.
Right. It might not, but we would just like the records to be, have correct information.
I don't know that I can since the case is closed.
So does that mean if patient needs any further care, they cannot meet with you or other doctors?
That is correct.
So the insurance company is just going to leave a patient injured in this position. So that's great that the insurance company's cutting off medication request too. 'Cause it's Friday. I'm not sure if Dr. Quirrell's going to be there. If he's going to be available at this time of the day, and it's the holidays next week. Is there anything that we can do to get the case reopened faster? Get medications and have benefits started faster? Because this just seems like they administer one treatment and then just leave the patient in a horrible situation like this, right?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. The doctor was correct. Whether the case is closed, like the first one said, or whether the case needs to remain open until March of 2021, like the second one said.
Right? And now, because the holidays, that's not going to be scheduled anytime soon. And so it's going to be very difficult because, like we said at the last meeting, did get an eviction notice, and they might ask to leave at any point, and doesn't have a place to live out of food. So, just to have a quick recall of the conversation, how the insurance has closed the case.
No, I cannot hear the case closed.
So you don't have any access to include today's conversation in case.
I mean, not really, because even if I do submit it in the Sedgwick, they're not going to do anything with it because the case is closed.
Could you at least try to put it in, even if the case was closed? If you could make a note of that, we can use that at a later point because we like to fix that as communication and have the right information in the system.
I will consider to do that, but as of right now, I'm not going to.
Why is that?
Because our case is closed.
Right? But you're still having a conversation today with patient. So wouldn't it be legally necessary for you to have a note of this conversation? So you're having a conversation with me on behalf of. So wouldn't it be legally necessary for you to input this conversation into the records, etc. as well?
Well, because I'm doing it as just a courtesy.
Right. So
I'm sorry. I hope you feel better soon. If there's anything else I can do within my means, please let me know, because I know this is a terrible situation, and I wish there was more I could do to help you, and I certainly wish you luck. Goodbye.
What? She hung up.
workers' compensation is virtually an unchecked program. To give you a reference of how patient care is undermined and how companies responsible get off easy.
In a non-workers' compensation case where someone is injured on company property or by a company when they are not an employee for a similar injury to this of dystonia, torticollis, which requires Botox for life, EMG MRIs, and muscle relaxers for life, along with inability to work for life, where you can no longer enjoy anything or exercise or do things around the house, and no longer drive, a permanent 40-degree head tilt, numbness, and the neurological condition, it would be around $500,000 to a $4 million lawsuit outside of workers' compensation. But if a patient was injured on the job, there are no legal remedies, and the company gets away with around 1/10 to 1/40 of the cost in workers' compensation for the same injury, which will be 10x more outside of workers' compensation. So here we can put an actual dollar value on this type of injury, which causes a lifetime of problems and suffering.
The large dollar amount reflects the need to see specialist doctors take medicine and the inability to work for a lifelong with emotional toll. But because it's workers' compensation, they get away with paying a maximum $45,000 with all benefits medical before dropping a patient. That means paying for only the basic needs and then telling a patient, get out of here.
So the patients on work compensation have it worse, because not only do they not get the specialist treatment they need, nothing is approved timely, and they have a greater chance of going homeless with the injury, not being able to ever find rent again, and never working again. Workers' compensation leaves disabled patients in a worse situation than when they started. And many times patients will never get the proper treatments because it can cost $5,000 to $10,000 per year.
If workers' compensation actually provided timely treatment, patients may actually get fixed and not be disabled for life. But due to all the things mentioned in this documentary, patients are left and treated in the employer where the injury occurred, the insurance company, and the doctors that get paid to give dishonest reviews and are the only ones who win.
There are a few ways you can help. You can sign the petition at change.org called HomelessByChristmas. The link is down in the description below. You can use the hashtag HomelessByChristmas on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook with a written or video post explaining why you support patients and that you care about patients getting proper care. You can address the post or video to Ascension, Sedgwick, Congress or the Senate, Mitt Romney, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Richard Blumenthal, and those that can cover the issue like New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, WSJ. This method is the last resort. There is no legal method to get the proper care due to outdated laws. This documentary is not an effort to file any lawsuit. This documentary is solely a way to educate, and with enough signatures and support, lawmakers may be encouraged to change laws to help support patients.
Oh, I have an important message for all Americans. Please watch this documentary about an important subject that affects the lives of millions of patients each year. Many patients who are injured at work become homeless because they are unable to get the proper care.